chemistry chapter. Yes, so students, in the previous class, I was discussing about the interconversion of matter. Yes, interconversion of matter, that is evaporation, sublimation, desublimation, condensation, all this have been explained to you in the previous class, right? So today I am going to discuss about the effects of heat. Yes, effects of heat on matter. So today I am going to discuss about effects of heat on matter. Yes. So let us see what is heat first. Yes, what is heat? The energy, that is the energy that flows from one state, energy that flows from one state to another. And due to the difference in temperature, yes, this results in the difference in temperature, that is the energy flows from one state to another. So, result in the difference in temperature. This is called as heat. This is called heat. So, heat means, what is heat? What is heat? That is the energy that flows from one state to another due to difference in temperature. So that is known as heat. So energy flows from one state to another due to difference in temperature. So here, the main effects of heat on matter have been grouped into two main classes. One is the physical change, is grouped into two. That is, first one is the physical change, and second one is the chemical change. First one is the physical change, and second one is the chemical change. Now, let us see the first, that is the physical change. Under physical change in size as well as change in state takes place. So here in detail we are going to start with change in state, that is physical change. Under physical change we are going to learn first one, that is the change in state. And second one is the change in size. So here, change in state, random movement of the particles. Yes, random movement of the particles usually takes place more when the particles are heated. When the particles are heated, what happens? Random movement of particles take place. And due to this random movement, what happens? The temperature also increases. And as a result of this, the state of matter changes. Yes, state of matter changes, and the arrangement of the particles also changes. So these are the three things happens in change in state. In first one, due to when the particles are heated, what happens? Random movement takes place. So when the particles are heated, what happens here? Random movement takes place. Yes, random movement of particles takes place. Due to this random movement, what happens? There will be increase in temperature. And as a result, there will be increase in temperature. And because of this, what happens? The state of matter changes. When the arrangement of particles also changes. So this is what happens in change in state. Okay? Change in state. Now let us see the change of state of water. Yes, the change of, that is, we will see now the change of state of water. It can be demonstrated well in the form of water cycle. Students, all of you are learning from smaller classes what is water cycle. Yes, so here let us see what is water cycle. Yes, so here water, change of states of water is demonstrated. I am going to demonstrate in the form of water cycle. So water from different sources, that is rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, all this, yes, the water gets evaporated due to the heat from the sun. So water gets, first step, that is water gets evaporated. Water from different sources. Water from different sources, that is rivers, lakes, ponds, streams. Yes, ponds, streams, all this. So lakes, ponds, etc. Yes. So water gets evaporated. Water gets evaporated due to the heat of sun. Due to the heat of sun, yes, due to the heat from the sun, what happens? The water gets evaporated. And the warm, moist air, rises up. So once the water gets evaporated, what happens? The warm, moist air rises up in the air. Okay? On cooling, then this warm, moist air, then on cooling, what it forms? It forms clouds. It forms clouds. Yes? Warm, moist air rises up in the sky. On cooling, it forms clouds. Yes? And on further cooling, what happens? Further cooling, what takes place? Condensation takes place. Yes? On further cooling, condensation takes place. Condensation means, we all know, right? What is condensation? Condensation means the cooling, that is the vapor cools and back into water. So on further cooling, condensation takes place. Then what happens? Then the water comes back. Yes? So here water comes down in the form of rain. Water comes down in the form of rain, snow, hail. This is how the cycle goes on. Yes, this is how the cycle goes on. First, water from different sources, that is rivers, lakes, ponds, etc. The water gets evaporated. Yes, due to the heat from the sun. And then what happens? The warm, moist air rises up in the sky. On cooling, it forms clouds. On further cooling, what happens? Condensation takes place, and then the water comes down in the form of rain, snow, hail, etc. So this is how the changes of state of water is being demonstrated in the form of water cycle. Now, the amount of energy that is required to transfer from one state to another. Yes, the amount of energy required to change from one state to another, that is from solid to liquid, liquid to gas. So here, what is required? It depends on the strength of the forces between the particles of the substance. It depends on the strength of the force. Yes, solids, they are very tightly packed, so the force of attraction is more, right? So it depends on the strength of the forces of the particles between them. These forces may be cohesive force or strong bond between them, and these forces may be cohesive force or strong bond between these particles. Yes? Now let us move on to the next, that is the change in size. Now let us move on to the next, that is change in size. First we have seen change in skin. Next we are going to learn change in size. Change in size. So second one is change in size. Is heat process. That is the heat usually causes it causes an increase. It causes an increase in the energy. And due to this, what happens? The particles move apart. So heat causes an increase in the energy and make the particles move apart. And this increase in the energy makes the particles to move apart and causes there is an increase in the volume. There is an increase in the volume is leading to expansion. So when the particles are heated and when the energy is more, they make the particles to move apart. They make the particles to move apart, and when they move apart, what happens? Causes an increase in the volume, and this leads to expansion. So that is how the change in size takes place. So here heat causes an increase in heat. Heat is the main reason. Heat causes an increase in the energy. Heat causes an increase in the energy, and this increase in the energy makes the particles to move apart, and increase this leads to expansion. The increase in volume and it leads to expansion. Solids on heating usually expand, but not much than the liquid. Solids usually expand on heating, but not as much as the liquids expand. The interparticle force of attraction is more in solids. Okay, so solids expand on heating. Solids expand on heating. Solids expand on heating, but not as much as the liquids. Why? Because the interparticle force of attraction in solids are more. That is why it doesn't expand much as the liquids expand. And liquids, now the liquids even they expand. Liquids expand more than solids on heating. They also expand, but it will be more than solid on heating, and the interparticle force of attraction will be less compared to solid. Now gases. Now next one is the gas. Gas expand on heating. Gases, what they do? They expand on heating and they contract on cooling and contract and they contract, yes, and they contract on cooling. So they expand as well as they contract. And gases, the interparticle force of attraction is very weak. Is very weak. So this is how the change in size, solid, liquids and gases takes place. Yes? And on heating, what happens? The volume of gas. On heating, the volume of gas increases and expansion takes place. And on cooling, the volume of gas decreases and contraction takes place. So these are the things that comes under change in size. Comes under change in size. This is clear, students? Yes? So change in size, it is mainly due to the heat. Heat causes increase in the change and which makes the particle to move apart, and due to this there is an increase in volume and it leads to expansion. So you have understood about solid, how the expansion takes place, what is the interparticle force of attraction. Yes? So all this comes under change in size. Now let us move on what is a chemical change. Now let us move on to a chemical change. So all this comes under physical change. Now let us move on to chemical change. What do you mean by chemical change? Now let us see what is a chemical change. What is a chemical change? So chemical change, a change in which, so here, what is a chemical change? I'm going to explain now what is a chemical change. A chemical change means a change in which, yes, a change in which the substance, that is the original substance, so change in which the original substance undergoes certain changes in their composition. Original substance undergoes changes in their composition, and a newly formed substance or creating a new substance, and creating a new substance is called chemical change. So what do you mean by chemical change? Chemical change means a change in which the original substance, yes, it undergoes the change in their composition and creating a new substance, that is known as chemical change. So chemical change is a change in the original substance. It is a change in the original substance. Yes, the original substance undergoes changes, and a change in which the original substance, and it change its, what happens? It change its chemical composition. For example, the atoms, the molecules, all those, there will be certain changes in the atoms and molecules, etc. So there will be a change in its composition, and what is finally creating a new substance. So this is known as chemical change. For example, burning of a candle wick. Yes, burning of a candle wick. You all are familiar using candle, right, children? So when you light the wick of the candle, the wick that is the burning at the way, that is the chemical change. And the melting of the wax is the physical change. That is the physical change. So this is known as the chemical change, and example for chemical change is. So students, let us see an activity to show how the expansion in solids takes place due to heat. This is a solid metal. Yes, I am going to pass the solid metal through this hole. I am going to pass the solid metal through this hole. So it goes easily through this hole. Now I am going to remove this. Yes, and I am going to heat this solid metal. Now I am going to heat this solid metal. So here what happens? Here the solid usually increases, the solid metal increases in size when it is heated. So when I try to pass, now what happens is the metal, the solid metal, it will find difficult to pass through this hole. This shows that the expansion takes place in solid due to heat. So this is an activity to show the expansion of solids is mainly there is an increase in size when the solid metals are heated. So with this, let me wind up this chapter, children, and see you soon. Thank you.